Local politics tonight. City Council at-large candidates got together today to enjoy some barbecue and share their thoughts on how to make the city better. The forum at Silverado Smokehouse was hosted by the Nueces County chapter of the Texas Society of Professional Engineers. This was a chance for the candidates to hear the concerns that engineers have. They had 3 minutes each to answer several questions about such things as infrastructure, the city budget, and the city water supply.
A lot of us are people that work with the city to help solve the problems, so it's important to us to make sure we have people that understand what the issues are.
On this forum, only 2 of the 7 at-large candidates actually showed up this afternoon. Michael Hunter and Randy Beatty were the only ones there.